people, same places, same parties. Am I just a ghost at night? Too many street lights in this city, I'm missing our ocean side. I've been running, but I can't escape the feeling that I've been away for far too long. 'Cause there's something about our love that brings me peace of mind. Something special about the way our lives are intertwined. There's something about you that just leaves me mystified. Something pulling me to your heart, and I always want you by my side. Keep your body next to mine. New people, new places, we're the same. A moment frozen in time. Wish I could relive the day I met you and fall in love a second time. I could run, but I know I can't escape the feeling if I'm far away from you for too long. 'Cause there's something about our love that brings me peace of mind. Something special about the way our lives are intertwined. There's something about you that just leaves me mystified.
So I've really gone and done something dodgy somewhere. Hello, welcome to stream. Happy Saturday. I'm going to close that door behind me. OBS crashes the first time I open it. Every time. It's fine on subsequent launches, but libsef is unhappy. So we're going to find out why my browser crashes when I open OBS for the first time. I didn't know you were following me on Blue Sky. Hello, hello. First time chatter. So, let's start. Hey, Rain. Long time no see. Hope you're doing well. So actually what I should do is I should put on some background music while we work. Do we have a new album to... Albums. No new album. Okay. Start with the latest one and go from there. Let me know the volume of the music. Should be fine. So I'm also, as a test, streaming to YouTube in 1440p. So hopefully that all goes well, but that's in X264 because I've been having some performance issues with running too many encoding sessions on my GPU while gaming. And so we're going to see how X264 treats us today. Now then, this is my crash log today. You can see no symbols, which we can look into as long as... No, we can't. Damn it. Same. Yeah, life has been crazy the past few years, just in general. So I can't actually look into why I crashed, because I don't have memory addresses, because this crash log is too big. Damn. Alright, well, you know what? I do have another crash log that someone else posted that is also browser related, so maybe we look into that one today. before we get deep into... so that one was an AV1 crash. I have a window open here somewhere with a... No? It was in one of them. Not. Alright, crashes aren't as interesting to look into anyway. I just need to keep an eye on that crash. Alright, well then. We have a different task for today. And that is... Currently, OBS ships with Chrome 127. And as of 128, the runtime that we use no longer exists. And that means user data gets purged, and a bunch of stuff we don't want users to be able to do becomes possible, such as opening your own Chrome window. And I think I can show this. Let's just default apps. Web browser. Okay, I wonder if that'll get replaced. So right now, this currently has Chromium, Edge, Firefox, Chrome Beta, IE, and Edge. I don't know how IE is still in there. Do I even have that? Technically, I do. Okay. Well, that might become a problem. If we're eating all our CPU by building OBS, then X264 is a bad call. OBS is running as admin, so it should take priority, but I am going to have to check that later. Bitrate stable. So anyway, the fun thing is that because the Chrome runtime works the way it does, you can actually set OBS as your default web browser, which OBS does not support and does not handle well. And Chromium does not provide a way to switch that off. So by launching it, you immediately add OBS as a potential to be a default web browser, which we don't want. So we'll see how this goes. It looks like the build is about halfway done. So there are a few things I want to do today in terms of getting this working to a point that I'm happy. The main part is service integration. There are other issues. I'll just pop this right here. Today, service integration. Other quirks. Data migration. And I believe the version I downloaded of Ceph was 136. So we'd be jumping from 127 to 136 for our tests. I have done tests with 133, but we'll see how that goes. Oh, actually, we can also pop that up there and disable our win rate. Oh, awesome. Unfortunately, I don't watch Twitch as much as I used to. There are so many streamers I love watching. That's alright. There is no... there is no requirement to join or watch. Okay, let's see. Now, because we're using Chrome Runtime, let's see if this is now updated. Go back to default apps. No, OBS did not show up in here. That's a good sign. But let's see if that's intentional. What's the best way to test this? I don't think the Chrome runtime actually initialized. It's supposed to. Or did I version gate this? Did I maybe version gate this? I don't think I did. Save headers. Block Chrome URL. Chrome runtime is set to true in here. That's interesting. This one will actually tell us. Disable features. Yeah. Log file. Blink. Hide crash, restore bubble. This doesn't actually tell us if Chrome runtime was initialized, which is weird. Let's also fix this up. Body, background white. Now can we scroll? Yes. Oh, that's awesome. Well, congrats. Cache path. That's all correct. Well, best way is actually to load an invalid page, because that'll tell us whether it's giving us the... I'm only doing the basic stuff at the moment. Let's do error screen. Chrome. No, actually. Just whatever.com. And let's see if that... No. I don't think we're running with the Chrome runtime. That's probably why. Shall we rebuild and see if that enables it? Otherwise, there might be another switch we need to flick. Or we just launch with a newer version of Chromium. And that would definitely cause the problems that we're expecting. Interesting. Alright. Then in this case, let's disable our special code for blocking Chrome URLs, and we can just open the Chrome settings, and that'll tell us whether stuff is behaving the way we expect. Does that site... I mean, no. I'm not looking to get banned off YouTube and Twitch at the same time. Okay, block Chrome URL. I remember putting it somewhere. Let's do files to include. Here's browser. There is a button for that. I actually don't know if I can remove it from my overlay. Because my overlay is done through a third party. Let's see. Okay, it's grayed out. Let me go into studio mode and see. And game. I don't have a big enough screen. Okay, good news. Deleting messages actually purges it the way it's supposed to. No, I don't think it will either, but better safe than sorry. Okay, so we have block Chrome URL. We're also going to enable screencast mode. So our function here currently blocks certain things, we can just comment out that, and that should allow us to run this. Yeah, my custom overlay has been very unreliable when it comes to deleted messages. Sometimes it'll actually hide them, and sometimes it'll just keep them. And right now, occasionally when I open it, it decides to also show previous follows, which doesn't entirely make sense for it to do, but, you know, whatever. All right, now we can go docs, install volume master. Let's see, what does this say? All right, add to Chrome. Let's see what happens. Yep, so we are running the Chrome runtime, as you can see here. If I click add extension, then you might see a flash of a window. That is me blocking it from opening. That does mean we're running in the version I was expecting. So there should be an extensions screen we can open here. Yeah, none currently installed. You know, I have a feeling, because I'm passing a disable extensions flag, that's also not going to work. So let's go back in and disable that too. That's just this line here. Let's rerun that. Now, hopefully the text is readable. I am downscaling from 1440p to 1080p on Twitch. Technically, I guess if I'm doing programming streams, I could do it at 1440p, but whoop. Okay, opening OBS makes the encoder unhappy for a second. That's good to know. Now then, we have no extensions installed. Let's click add to Chrome. This is... Whoop, I clicked add and something happened. Alright. It's like there's something in the way. That's weird. This is what we mean by stuff is a bit janky and why we don't want to enable this. So here's the add dialog. So we'll click add extension. Now this should work. Theoretically. I did disable the disabled extension stuff. In the meantime, we should be able to go into settings. Yep. So right now, this one, there are areas where I'd like to protect it, which I already sort of have, where I think in the autofill, like this will crash, which is not ideal. I don't know why extensions aren't working. Ah, I bet if we flip those off as well. Otherwise, what I will do is I'll prep an updated... Ooh. Yeah, every time I open OBS, the encoder gets unhappy. Is that the YouTube one or the Twitch? Both. Nothing? Okay. Well, either way, we need to figure out why this one here is in incognito mode, because it's not supposed to be. Which, the only way for me to actually troubleshoot that is to give myself the ability to actually open those windows. So let's go in, and we can re-enable these ones, because that's not making a difference. But what we can Wait, are there two different functions for block? No, they're not. Okay. I thought I had duplicate code. Right. I want to be able to override you from opening. So there's a navigation cancel we can do and an navigate to a blank page option. I mean, everything's a learning experience, right? I haven't looked at this code. This is the problem. I haven't looked at this code in like 4 months. So I'm still trying to wrap my head around what I did 3 months ago. When did I first push this code, actually? August last year. And the last thing I touched was yesterday. Oh, yeah. I can't imagine being a parent. The amount of stress and... Like, I'm not responsible enough to look after someone else. And I'm freaking 30, so... I can't imagine the lessons you've learned. I'm basically skimming the code at this point. Because I know there's some behavior. Let's just open the dummy client. So this guy on Chrome command, I should have a stash that lets me no. I should have a stash that lets me actually do stuff here, but it doesn't seem like it. Yeah. Oh, I expect something like parenting makes you grow up real fast. In some ways, and then in other ways you're just the same person as before. You're just having to fake more of knowing what you're doing. Ah, so I did disable the code here. Okay. Hey, Bowden. Hope you're doing well. I am actually going to turn on the heater for a bit because it is starting to cool down in here. Alright, well, let's... Because previously, the easy way for me to break out of the context, but I really want to be able to actually have proper information in here. Where'd my Ceph settings window go? And then this one allows me to pop out here, which is not actually supposed to work. I've told it not to allow popping out of OBS, but for some reason it does. There is... Okay, that one also crashes. I forgot about that one. That's why we don't allow going into the settings window. Did I document any of this? Maybe that would help. Disable ability to block. Switch profiles. Move shared URL block list to a util unsure. Maybe if I... This is the inspect window. Is there a way for me to force a new... open file, show performance, show preferences. No. I assume there's some button in settings I can click, which is why we disable it. Yeah, so there's a button here that lets you set OBS as admin, which you don't want to, as a default web browser, which is not something you want to do. Now, if I open this guy, clicking inspect in incognito makes it angry. That's not ideal. Okay, maybe we fix that first. Or better yet, we'll update Ceph, see if it's a Chromium issue that has since been fixed, and if it hasn't, then we can do more troubleshooting. So I need to open my dependencies folder. I always like to go into this a little unprepared, because it's more entertaining that way. All right, 130. Okay, last one I tested with was 133, so we're in 136 now. We're going to open this in here. And I'm going to mark this one as build. So we're going to build the Chromium wrapper. So we already have libceph, which is the library that powers OBS browser, in here. It is a nice... Nope, not this one. It's in the release folder. Thanks for the follow, IK1S3V. Hope you're doing well. There's the libceph DLL. It is 223 megabytes on its own. And there's also a sandbox lib, which we don't use, which is another 85 megabytes. So let's open the wrapper, which is what we interact with, which then passes that information on for us to the actual browser capability. And we will build both a debug library and a release library. I can hear the fans on my computer spinning up because I'm using 100% of my CPU. In other news, while this builds, I actually successfully tested OBS on ARM, on Windows, with OBS browser, and that works correctly. That leaves Arja, which, as far as I know, their drivers don't exist for ARM on Windows yet, and scripting, which specifically Python, because Python 3.11 currently isn't supported by OBS, because we enabled it at one point and then it was causing crashes, so we went, we'll just turn it off for now and fix it later. And I think Python is now at what, 3.14? Python 3 download. What version are we at now? Yep, 3.13. So OBS has not been tested with 3.11, 3.12, or 3.13. All right, we have our debug wrapper built. Let's build our release wrapper. And then we're going to grab our wrapper directory. We're going to go in here and we're going to delete everything except the Ceph root directory and point that to the new path. And once this finishes building, we can then tell CMake to reconfigure our OBS Studio build with the most recent version of Chromium. Which I'm sure that won't break anything, because it never has. But the main reason we're able to do this now, which we weren't able to do before, actually, we're good now. Cool. I'm going to configure this. The main reason we're able to do this now is because the functionality for adding, or the functionality that we depend on in the browser, which is shared textures, audio routing, and hardware acceleration, those are now actually provided directly by Chromium and then exposed to us by Ceph, rather than us having to use a custom fork of Ceph. So we build our own copy of the Chromium embedded framework, for our purposes because we need proprietary codecs. But you can actually just download one of the Spotify Ceph builds, and which is what I've done here for today's testing, and it'll just work out of the box with all the features you need, which is great. Specifically, we use Ceph in the browser source and in browser docs. So that includes service integration like Twitch chat and all of that, but also just custom websites that you want to embed. Hey, Exeldro. Happy weekend to you. Hope you're doing well. All right. Let's rebuild this with our updated Ceph. And I guess on before pop-up doesn't exist anymore. So that's new. So let's pull up the documentation and see why on before pop-up disappeared. Docs Ceph, because we're currently on 127. Yeah, but I'm doing well. I'm glad it's the weekend. I'm sad it's a short weekend. And hoping for more days off. Now, I always forget Ceph Lifespan Handler. Perfect. I love when comments are exactly where I need them to be. Whoa. I just watched something flash. We'll just... Oh, no, hang on. My mouse just lagged. Are we good? I think we're good. Okay. This white on white doesn't work very well, does it? Can we maybe do that? Yeah, we can do that. So we're going to go Ceph Lifespan Handler. And we're going to check for on before pop-up. Then we're going to duplicate this tab and go 133. No, 132. Cool. 132 has an on before pop-up. Does it have all the same functions as before? Or parameters, I should say. On before pop-up. On before pop-up. Oh, there's an on before pop-up aborted as well. Actually, didn't we... I bet... On before pop-up, there we go. They added an integer. Yeah. So let's do the same. That is before the Ceph string and after the Ceph frame. It's playing with me. That is the header file. Do we have the non-header file? Browser dummy client. We do. Cool. On before pop-up. So between these two. I'm feeling some very heavy mouse lag. It is frustrating me. Let's close a couple things in the background, like tail scale maybe. Maybe that'll help us. Hey Titan, hope you're doing well. All right, now we're adding modern Ceph compatibility. May not be the only bit we need. It is yelling at us. Chrome Runtime is not a member. Yes, because that is removed in new versions. That is no longer needed. So we're going to do 6533 and Chrome version build. What build are we on right now? 7103. Sure. Cool. Theoretically, you can pass any Ceph launch parameter into OBS, and OBS will automatically forward it to Ceph if it doesn't recognize it. So you could try it through a command line parameter. Outside of that, it should use your system proxy settings. But I've never tested it because I don't have a proxy. Yes. Hi, Tim. Hey, we successfully built. That's a good sign. All right, let's run. I'm going to have a minor hitch. Is it? It's not. It is during the launch. Okay. So here we are in updated Chrome. We don't have any additional things. Let's see if it still crashes if we try and inspect a incognito window. Yes, it does. Okay, so that's not fixed. So let's find out why. Should we try building and debug? Just in case. Because there is a warning here, a breakpoint for a debug break. Give us the call stack. Because this is in our custom code where we open our own context menu and we add our own items, in this case, a show DevTools thing. Let's take a look at how we use Ceph browser settings elsewhere and maybe how that gets used has changed. So let's pull up, what are you part of? Ceph browser host? Okay. I'm going to take a look at... Yeah, right. Specifically, we're going to look in the 127 docs. Ceph browser settings. Cool. That is part of the lifespan handler. Now let's check. So this is just the struct. The page is unchanged, which is not a good sign, but we are on 136 now. That page does exist. That page has not changed either. Good to know. So we need to figure out why Show DevTools doesn't like us just passing an empty Ceph browser settings struct. What we could do is just do this, which we do elsewhere, and just pass that in and see if that fixes it. Because it could be as simple as that. Oh, we need to initialize this outside of the switch. Figured out your audio issues. Oh. Interesting. Yeah, ASIO is funky. I'm glad you found a fix. The only one that I've actually used is ASIO for all. That still crashes. Is it a window info issue? If we're on less than 6533, which we're not, it is funkier. I will agree with that. Should we load in our libsef symbols so that we get a little more info here. Because I did specifically download the entire... symbol for this build in case this happened. It's not pleasant, I'll say that much. Yeah, it'll go into that folder once I open it. Speaking of funny SEO things, I attempted to open the app for my Rodecaster Pro the other day, and it yelled at me saying, you need the different app. I installed the different app. It's the same app, just with a different name. All the functionality, they've just split it off into its own app, specifically for the Rodecaster, and provided no additional new features, which I am disappointed by. I would really like the ability to control Windows apps and Windows devices directly using the sliders. That is not a function. I have to use, what is it, MIDI mixer for that. And that thing is janky as hell and not open source. Very disappointing. All right. Let's throw in this libsef DLL, which is 4 gigabytes. Oh, why would you do this to me? What kind of file browser is this? There should be a load symbol button. No, come on. I have to rename it because for some reason they use the file name libsef.dll.pdb and nope, that is correct. Can I just drag the PDB in? Do I really have to use the oldest dialogue ever? If you're roboting specifically in Discord. The challenge there is you need to figure out what's causing the roboting. It could be a number of things. My first guess would be networking. Is that going to yell at me? No. How do I? All right, we're going to have to do this the old-fashioned way. The second guess of mine, I'm just going to, would be try routing it through an intermediary virtual cable. So rather than going straight from Voicemeeter into Discord, get like VB cable and route Voicemeeter into VB cable, then VB cable into Discord. That'll tell you whether it's a potentially buffer misconfiguration. Where are we? We are in OBS compile 2018, then deps and Ceph 136, and then the folder is release. Whoop, it found it. Let's see what our call stack gives us. But that would be the first way I'd try. Yeah. If that is the case, I would look into how you can raise the Voicemeeter buffer to be a little bit longer. Otherwise, I've always, like even right now, my microphone right now is plugged into the Rodecaster Pro 2. Then that goes into, I can even show you, into the Wavelink software. That Wavelink software then gets routed into OBS. And in OBS, I'm then boosting the microphone an extra amount. I generally don't use microphone device entries in Windows directly anymore. It all goes through some sort of virtual thing. What is it looking for? DevTools window runner.cc. I don't care about that for now. I don't need the source code. So this goes create DevTools browser. Okay, maybe we do need to find this file. It'll be in include. Is it just in the root directory? No, because that's in the Chrome source code. Oh god. Oh no. Okay. So what's the actual error? What doesn't it like? That one's in DevTools window. What are we actually passing to this? Ceph browser host. Show DevTools. All right. It wants a window info, a Ceph client, Ceph browser settings, and the Ceph point. Okay, what if we don't give it the Ceph point? Because we used to not. The other thing you could try, Rain, is Discord does let you choose between audio backends. So if you go into user settings, then voice and video, there's a section near the bottom. At least there used to be. There's a bypass system audio input processing toggle. You could try that one. I'm not seeing... Oh, there's a debugging tab now. Well, that also doesn't have anything useful. They changed stuff. There used to be a way to go into like legacy audio mode. And I used that for a long time. But I'm not seeing it anymore. Might be in advanced. Nope. They've reshuffled stuff and I have no idea. Bowden, specifically, we are trying to get service integration to actually stay logged in. That is the end goal. My first step in trying to do that is opening DevTools, and that's not working, so that's not a good sign. Now, that could be because we're in incognito that it's unhappy. And if that is the case, then... Yeah. In my case, if I didn't use the legacy audio mode, my incoming audio was really janky. But maybe they fixed it at some point and I just didn't know. How do I... Can I just set this to 0, 0? Yeah? Okay. Oh, I'm great at staying on topic as well. I totally haven't done 8 different things since we started stream. Actually, am I? Okay. Aha! We got it working, then it disappeared. But that's fine. We have it working. So for some reason, it doesn't like the mouse coordinates. Which I don't appreciate. but we fixed DevTools. I just realized which account I'm logged into here. That's fine. So what I wanted to check is if we can... If you... Yeah, it's just Chrome new tab, isn't it? Yeah, okay. Nope. Chrome new tab. So service integration is the ability for you to go into settings, then to stream, and then connect your account, which logs you into chat and grabs your stream key automatically. Right now, with updating to the Chrome runtime, which uses all of Chrome's code rather than Ceph's code, when you set a different path for your cookies and stuff, which is what we do, service integration uses a separate cookies directory from the rest of OBS. Right now, rather than actually storing those cookies, it doesn't, and so it presumes it's supposed to be in incognito mode, which is not what it's supposed to be doing. And we can actually prove that. Let me go into here. Let's sign out here. So I'm going to connect account. I think that's the right password. Cool. I'm just going to move this over here for a second while I grab the code. Alright. So, if we now hit apply, it'll open these service docs. So you can see there's chat on the right and stream information on the left. Now, if you can see here that I'm successfully logged in and I am the streamer. But if we dock these windows and close OBS, then right now those cookies aren't stored properly. And if we then reopen, then you can see I'm now no longer logged in. And if I try sending a message, it asks me to log in, which is not what it should be doing. So we need to figure out why that is. What I am going to do here, and I'm going to try and remember how... OBS spot commands. Yes, just pasting your stream key. We don't have any way of authenticating with Twitch. When you actually type in your password through that login flow, we actually use some of the cookies that Twitch provides to then functionally do everything we need to. That includes some weird stuff where if you open two docs at the same time, only one will be logged in. So we actually have to load chat, wait until the cookie is populated, then open the second one. Otherwise you get all sorts of weirdness. All right, we're going to add that. Now, I don't remember if it's through the all build thing or if it's through the OBS Studio one. We're going to find out together. Debugging, command arguments. We're going to throw it in there and see what happens. So now we should be able to Oh. This is my new fidget toy. I bought this at... It was Supernova? No, it was before Supernova. It was at another convention. Basically, it is 2 halves with magnets. And so I just kind of... So if you're hearing like clanking noises in the background, that's me flicking this. It's very cool though. It's a multicolor 3D print. And you can actually see the... It's completely plain on the inside. The only, like, I've spoken to the people that made these, and I was like, it needs magnets on both sides, because right now, if you, like, there are 3 batches of magnets, right? But if you do it on the other side, it doesn't hold on as well. Like, it can, but it immediately falls off. Whereas with the other one, you really have to pull. But yeah, if I didn't have this, I'd be clicking a pen or something else, you know? All right. Do we have what we're looking for in here? Nope. Okay. So that didn't put it where I need it to go. Which is pretty much what I expected. Install? No, we're going to do it in OBS Studio. I expect it needs to go in here. Online, I assume so. I don't have the business cards on hand. I actually don't remember where I put the business cards. Actually, no, I do. Give me 1 second. Not that one. All right. I have the business cards. Also, welcome raiders from 0 Day 3301. That almost doesn't sound like a legit thing, so I'm hoping it is. Otherwise, I have a button for that. I know exactly which card. There we go. It's called Wookie Print. So you want wookieprint.etsy.com with 2 E's. So I literally have a full-on stack of business cards from conventions. Because so many people... Oh, thanks for the follow, 0 Day. Welcome to the order. There we go. Hopefully that loads. Yep, there we go. So they do... This is one of the haptic fidget sliders is what I'm using. But like they've got custom game cases and stuff. Really cool stuff. Keychains, all sorts of things. But yeah, this is what I'm playing with. They even have a video that's much better than my temporary one. And like these ones are the smileys, but they've also got the one I have, which should be somewhere else. Oh, these are also really cool. Oh, there's my one. So I'm using the haptic fidget toy. All sorts of colors. And you can even have it customized. Yeah. It's the kind of cool stuff people make that I do not have the skills for. Alright, did we successfully open OBS with the command arguments we want? If not, then here we go. I'm still confused why MS Build sometimes complains about files existing when, like, they're the same files from before. Come on, it's not that difficult. Just build it. All I did was add some launch parameters. Yeah. That's absolutely fair. It's really weird that Blue Sky, if you leave the tab for a while, the DM screen fully reloads for no reason. All right. Do we have dev tools now? Yes, we do. Okay, localhost 1234. Does it need the slash on the end? I bet it does. Why did it steal focus like that? That's very rude. Alright, what we'll do is we'll get rid of the one in all build, because otherwise I will forget. I'll get them mixed up. And then on OBS Studio, we'll just make it a star. Debugging, port 1234, origins, star. Let's rerun. It is possible that because it crashed in the past, it is now unhappy. Hopefully it's not. All right, then, no, edge, inspect, localhost 1234. Can't connect a device at this address. That's not good. Why not? We have remote debugging port 1234, and all origins are allowed. Do we need Chrome? We better not exclusively need Chrome. I don't even know what was last loaded here. Localhost 1234. Nope, that's 81234. It loads, but it's a blank page. That's the part I'm confused by. Yeah, usually it can be any Chromium-based... Oh, yeah, all my other devices are showing up fine. Maybe I'm already using 1234? Am I already using 1234? Nope, that one uses 9999. Does it work fine with my actual one? Let's see if my actual running live stream OBS... No, actually, that won't work because libsef crashed earlier. Either way, we're getting a blank page, which is not helpful. Alright. Well then, no inspector for us through that system, unfortunately. All right. All right. Window.location.href. We're going to Chrome. New tab. Does Chrome New Tab not work? Okay. Apparently, the new tab page code does not like doing that. I'm breaking everything today. We're not actually making any progress. We're just seeing what breaks. Some would consider that progress. I do not. Is browser? Browser is valid. Yeah. Is widget valid? No. Hold on. Widget is valid. Ceph browser is not. Okay. So... to be fair, I had an expectation that this was going to be messy. Because that's kind of the whole point of the Ceph upgrade. That because we're now using Chromium instead of Ceph for the API, the Chrome runtime, instead of Ceph runtime, which is called Alloy, I was expecting things to just completely, repeatedly collapse. So we're on track in that sense. I just didn't realize... yeah, so if you just go to Chrome New Tab, it gives you a blank page. That's not very helpful, is it? Is there... In Chrome 74 to 84, you can determine whether you're incognito by estimating the available file system storage space. All right. Well, what we're actually going to do is we're going to go into our settings folder. So the reason for the change is on the Ceph end, because basically they've been maintaining their own APIs for a while, and every time Chrome adds something new, the Ceph team has to re-implement whatever API it is themselves. This way, because of that, a lot of the time they would be behind on certain things or wouldn't be able to provide things at all because they were running in their own like mini instance rather than a proper instance. Now they're running in their own proper instance, which results in having access to a lot more of the Chromium API in general, with the downside for us being... yeah, that's also true. The Ceph team is basically one guy. For us, it means lots of new, dangerous capabilities are immediately available to all users, just like that. Now, we were able to update to Chrome 127, which is the last version that includes the Alloy runtime. Every subsequent version, we need to be using the Chrome runtime with the Alloy style. The Chrome style gives you stuff like toolbars and stuff, like the actual browser toolbar, which we don't want to expose to users either. But by enabling the Chrome runtime, you get stuff like Google Cast, you get stuff like extensions, and all of the settings, and autofill, and a password manager, and being able to set your instance of Chromium, in this case OBS, as your default web browser, which doesn't work, by the way. So, let's go into plugin config. Then OBS browser. And we should have a new folder in here, theoretically. What we could do is just delete this entirely. OBS profile cookies is the folder we're looking for. So you'll notice there are 3 folders in here, created 220, 224, and 237. Latest one, 237. This contains our user preferences for when we're logged in as a Twitch user in this case. But OBS profile cookies is not working correctly. This is going to be in front end. So we do some stuff here where we initialize our browser panel cookie manager, which is per profile. And for some reason, this doesn't do what it's supposed to. That performs duplication, which is not what we want to do. Our music is also just finished, so let's grab a different album. Albums. This one. Okay. So this is all in OBS Basic Browser. Cool. We're actually going to sign out of our account here, because we are actually going to want to breakpoint this. Because I have a feeling this is tied to cookie manager stuff. So, do we have OBS Basic? No, we don't. Cool. Let's stop our running instance here. Have a clean shutdown for once. And we're going to go into source files. Now, I don't actually know the new structure for this, so this may take a bit. Because this search box, I don't like this one. I just want... Is there a... No. Visual... Jump to file. Okay, Control D. Nope, that just duplicates the current line. I know all my Visual Studio Code hotkeys, but for some reason, Visual Studio likes to be unique. Go to Control T. That's code search. I want file. Control dot. Control dot doesn't do anything. Thank you. No, is it Control comma? Yeah, that's also code search. Thank you. Go to filter by file. Go to specified file. Control 1, Control F. Whatever. We want OBS Basic Browser. Cool. Now, in here, we need to be on line 186. Cool. Now we're going to create some cookies. What do you mean Twitch Enhanced Broadcasting is controlling some of my settings? I'm not even logged in! Alright. So... Oh, we got our intro music playing now. Excellent. This is a good album. Yeah. So, our init panel cookie manager function doesn't get called at all. Or is being... Shh. It's my meme account that I use to troll people. Whenever I have the opportunity, I rename it to something funny that's relevant to that's happening in a stream, and then show up, you know, on occasion. We're gonna have to run into bug, it seems, because this function does not get. I think this function gets, because it's static, it gets hidden. When does it get called? Init browser panel safe block. Cool. So we're gonna spend the next little while building. Most of the time people don't realize who owns that account. And the best part is when they see it, they're like, that account has existed since whatever year, and it's like, yeah, I just rename it. You're only limited, I think, to change your name once every 2 or 3 months, which isn't too bad. Now, I haven't built into bug in a while, and because we've changed a bunch of stuff, this is going to take a while. There's nothing else to really look at while we wait. At the very least, we can push the protection for on before pop-up. Hey, Ankle Bully. Usually a black screen is caused by whatever thing you're trying to capture not allowing to be captured. In that case, step 1, try running OBS as admin. Step 2, try a different capture source. So if you're trying something like game capture, try using window capture. And if you're still running into issues, the OBS Discord has some support channels that are very helpful. But those are usually the 2 things I suggest trying first. And there are certain games like Destiny 2, Roblox, and Valorant that don't like our anti-cheat and just don't let you capture at all. And if it's the latest version of Minecraft and you're on an AMD GPU, that's a bug on the AMD side. They've been notified. Maybe they'll fix it at some point. One person actually mentioned today that in that situation, you can try toggling the setting for capturing third-party overlays, and that seems to fix it. It really depends on what you're trying to capture. I think that's everything. My phone just beeped. Why did it do that? Ah. Yes. I won't push the code for setting Chrome runtime to true, because realistically, I just need to make it I have to figure out when they removed it. Yes. And for the most part, it's Microsoft's fault. But there is... part of that is because games don't really render to something that is easily capturable. They try to render as close to hardware as possible. But then you have the other aspect of, okay, well, if it's hardware accelerated, then the old capture API that everyone has been using forever won't work. So, like, in the past, people would try and capture, say, Google Chrome, and the entire window would not capture. Now, you can capture it with newer APIs, but you can't capture anything, say, that has DRM. And technically, Windows now does have something that's akin to Pipewire and the macOS like screen selection thing, which is Windows graphics capture. However, on Windows 10, you get a yellow border which no one likes. And separately from that, you get a software cursor, which is very, very frustrating to use. I think we finished building. No, we did not. Oh, no. I have to... Oh. Okay. I've forgotten how to fix this. So let me do a quick search. Iterator. Debug. Level. Right, because I'm an idiot and didn't disable the sandbox in the wrapper. Let's fix that. Ugh. That's easy enough to fix. That's not the right CMake. There we go. Sandbox. Oops. Display capture from Chrome should work. Window capture for Chrome should work as long as you're using the right capture method. Pretty much, that is one of the challenges Microsoft has. One, they support backwards compatibility to an extreme. And two, being the most used operating system and being Microsoft, they have to and want to respect things like DRM. All right, let's rebuild this without the sandbox, because that is not necessary and causes grief for us. It's also really funny because you have different capture methods for displays than you do for windows, like individual windows. I had issues with Vista that were driver related. I'm quite sure it was GPU drivers. And to be fair, I was on a laptop. And I think I had an NVIDIA GPU. I don't know if it was the NVIDIA drivers or the Intel drivers that were causing me grief. But the moment I updated to Windows 7, all those issues went away. And I don't know which driver ultimately fixed it. But it did, so... And like, I went on a Windows 7 dev build like really early on. So... outside of that, I really enjoyed Vista. It's funny how dated Vista looks now, when back then I was like, this is the coolest looking thing ever. And it still is, it just looks dated. Alright, now we've rebuilt Ceph with our sandbox disabled. Let's rebuild debug OBS, this time without the iterator complaint. I used every early version of Windows that I could, from Windows 7 up to Windows 10. With Windows 11, I do have an insider build on my main laptop, and my secondary laptop over here is now running Windows 11. But I don't use them daily. And there are still areas that I much prefer in Windows 10. The biggest one being taskbar at the top, as you can see up there. Up there. Because that is how I use my computer. And for some reason, they decided we're going to rewrite how we do our taskbar and start menu from scratch and not going to bother implementing some things. Now, their reasoning is most apps, or select apps, have never supported taskbar at the top. Bowden, what I have learned is there is a very nice app called Win something. Windhawk. I've installed this on a couple of my computers, including my work. And it has mods. And I have personally enabled taskbar height and icon size and changed the height to 40, which is what Windows 10 uses, because Windows 11 uses 48. And taskbar labels for Windows 11, which is actually really nice because by default you have these like tiny ones, tiny like indicators under taskbar items. What you can do is you can have wide ones that actually change based on the focused and like the progress bar rather than being just under the icon, which is so much better. Preet, do you mean in Windhawk or in OBS? Because OBS is all C and C++. I think this one is actually C#, Windhawk. No, this looks like WinC to me. Const auto. I'm not actually sure. That might be... I think you can download the source as a file. We can just check his repo. Nope, this one says C++. There you go. Yep, they're all C++. Anyway, I use those two, and then there's one for top taskbar. Taskbar on top for Windows 11. All of the mods I've used so far are by this author, M417Z. And what's great is because all the mods are made by the same guy, if you move the taskbar to the top using this one, then use the resize one from the other one and the resized indicators, the resized indicators show up on the top. So it all actually comes together to feel like a completely native Windows 11 taskbar on top. You do get some quirks where sometimes this arrow for the extra apps running in your system tray, that arrow can sometimes face the wrong way. And there are still quirks where the notification sidebar, if it's collapsed, shows up at the bottom, but there is a separate thing for that. Where is it? Hang on. If you do taskbar on top, it even says here, the action center stays on the bottom. Now you can use the alternate solution, which takes you to, use Windows 11 notification styler, which again is made by the same guy. And then the cool thing about this one is you can actually like put in different styles and tell it, because it's all XML at the end of the day. So you just kind of tell it the identifier and what you want the value to be. And it's really cool. So that's the thing I learned of recently, and I haven't bothered like doing super complex customizations. I've ultimately just been like top taskbar, smaller taskbar. Yes, I have a vertical taskbar on my other computer over here. Actually, I can... Do I have... Yes, I do. So here it is running on my other machine here. And you can see it does work. I don't have like the customized icons, but you can see that's the only mod I have installed on here. And I've specifically set it to a width of 76, purely so the clock fits. It has all sorts of customization and stuff like that. Works really well. And it looks like the guy keeps it up to date, so... But there you go. And you can choose, I think, left or right. Yep, you can choose between left and right. Taskbar location on secondary monitors. Jump list vertical alignment. Start menu width. So you can use a custom start menu width with the start menu styler mod. So much stuff. Okay. Now we should have built. And we are breakpointed to where we want to be. So, let's go into this next function. Or not. What does this function actually do? It grabs the cookie ID value. Gen ID. Okay. Well, I'm assuming that hasn't changed. Yes. That has been my experience. You don't even have to uninstall it. You can just keep Windhawk installed and just disable the individual things you don't want, and it just works. And as far as I can tell, the guy keeps the mods up to date, so... Alright. So we have our main window. Yes. Now what's subpath set to? Okay, so our new subpath is 4E9. OBS profile cookies /4E9. My expectation is it needs to be a absolute path, and it's giving it a relative path. So let's do a quick search. If we OBS module config path, So the panel cookie manager did not complain, which is expected, but we're not logged in here anyway. So let's log out. Man, the settings window takes much longer in debug. I can turn off the heater. I was wondering why I was feeling a little bit warm. Stream, disconnect, yes. Connect account. The only downside of debugging something like service integration is you constantly have to keep logging in and out, which gives you a new two-factor key, as it should. But I wish I could temporarily bypass it for an hour. All right. That function doesn't run again, but only runs the first time. Good to know. Save cookie manager internal. All right, what we could do. Because panel cookies. We get an absolute path here. which then we set to settings cache path. Now this is the bit that I expect is not working correctly. Actually, we should be breakpointing here. We don't care about that spot, we care about this spot. So path So path currently points to you. Do you exist? You do exist. So but these files haven't been modified since the 25th of last month. Now, that's not ideal. So, let's double check how Ceph request context settings is supposed to work. Let's verify cache path. So this is in 136. Directory where cache data for this request context will be stored on disk. If the value is non-empty, it must be an absolute path that is either equal to or a child directory of root cache path. If this value is empty, then browsers will be created in incognito mode, where in-memory caches are used for storage and no profile-specific data is persisted to disk. Yes. HTML5 databases such as local storage will only persist across sessions if a cache path is specified. To share the global browser cache, set this value to match the cache path value. So, there are two things we're going to do here. The first is we're going to find where the cache path is set globally, which is in... that's the QSEF cookie manager. Storage path. You don't look like a... maybe we breakpoint you as well. I don't trust you. Yeah. That was the thing. I moved it to the top. And like, I have it at the top on this machine, which is still running Windows 10. But I moved it back to the top on my tablet, on my main laptop, and that's taking a bit of getting used to. I was using Explorer Patcher on my work machine initially, then that stopped supporting moving the taskbar because Microsoft changed stuff in a recent Windows 11 build. So then I switched to Start Is Back, but like the trial version, and once I realized Windhawk existed, I switched to that on my work machine. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I had a couple situations where Explorer Patcher would actually cause Explorer to go into a crash loop, which then resulted in me not having Explorer, and no easy way to disable/uninstall it because no Explorer. So I don't have that installed on my work machine anymore. Okay. We are going to add a breakpoint here because I am curious if set storage path gets called. And if it does, it might not be using an absolute path. So the first folder we have is this one. Then we're going to unbreakpoint. And that is the only call that happens on startup, I think. And then the other location where we set a config path is in OBS Browser plugin, which is another file we have here. Ceph settings. So we can close OBS for now. Debug log. Ceph settings. Prod version. Which line are we looking at? 351. Cool. If we're on Windows, then conf path absolute. So, theoretically, this should be a parent. Oh, it won't be though. That's the problem. So, the first path we have is conf path absolute. The first path is, yeah, OBS browser. That looks correct. Then the second path we have for our service integration docs is path. Is that the right window? Yes. Now, that is definitely a child of this one, but I wonder if, because it's nested, if that's unhappy. So we could try not nesting. Because the exact wording is equal to or a child directory of. So rather than using you, and those are the only two calls. There are no other setting calls like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to find OBS profile cookies. We don't care about duplicate for now. We just care about initialization. We're just going to straight up nuke the subdirectory, or the subdirectory. And just go subdirectory and see what happens. Realistically, I should have logged out of Twitch for this, but that's okay. Plugin config OBS browser. That is correct. Cache path, OBS browser, that. Good. Now, Twitch chat is not loading. Did we make it angry? Is there a new directory in here, maybe? There's not. So it's done something. To the point where the browser panel is not even... Oh, there we go. All right. We sign out of here. Oh, actually, no. Now the folder should exist. But it does not. Interesting. The other thing I wanted to check. Conf path absolute, OBS browser. Then OBS browser 4E922. Yep. Yeah, it straight up doesn't create that directory, which it's supposed to, using our cookie manager. That's really weird. Okay, let's do this differently then. Where is cookie ID stored? Main config. Doesn't help. Doc state. No. Within QSEF Cookie Manager internal, I don't think so. But what I did want to check is create context. Is part of Ceph request context. Yes. I did a search in the code base and it only showed the 3 locations. One in Init panel cookie manager and then 2 in duplicate current cookie profile. Which realistically what we could do is create a new profile. Because that should give us a fresh cookie ID. And theoretically, what we need in here is this guy. Because we have a function here for checking if it successfully created the cookie directory or not. Now the other question is, what's the bet? But what we also need to do because that one specifically states root cache path. Is the issue that we're not setting a root cache path? So maybe this will fix it. In that case, let me close out of here. Don't let Warchamp hear you. It was redesigned in 2019, 2018. Before that, it was like a proper 1994 design. Hang on. What am I trying to disable here? I don't think anything, just... Oh no, the Ceph... Where is it? Why hasn't this refreshed? Because I disabled this line. Why? Oh, that's in OBS browser. That's no, that's in OBS browser. I need to be in here. Cool. Yes. There have been experiments for alternate designs. None that we really felt we liked as much. Now, if this works, which I'm hoping it does, then we can look into did I have a folder open for this? I don't think I did. We can look into... Oh, we can remove this breakpoint too. Into deleting the entire OBS browser plugin directory and seeing how it behaves. All right, let's log into Twitch because now we have our 833 directory. So that's a good sign. We'll purge our entire config directory for Ceph and see how that behaves. And we're also going to test how it behaves without the Chrome runtime, with the older Chromium, because what we might want to do is enable Ceph root on existing installations, because that's what we should have been doing from the get-go, and we weren't. So now we're logged into Twitch. You can see there's some weirdness here sometimes where secondary docs correctly use dark mode, but the primary one doesn't until you refresh it, which then it does. So we are successfully logged in. Now the only challenge here is I don't actually know if it used my new directory, because that says 833. What we can do is OBS profile cookies, and this one is not updated. So I'm going to actually just yoink the contents of this one and throw them into here, because my guess is it'll rebuild because of this line change. And we don't want to lose that session we just created. Yeah, replace everything. That is not logged in. Damn. I thought we had it. Let's actually purge that folder and just see what happens. I was about to say what's wrong with blue, but so many icons. It drives me nuts how many icons Microsoft has that are all blue. Okay, we're going to disconnect from Twitch here. And then we're going to take a look at our new OBS browser. Actually, better yet, we're going to go one step further. We're just going to delete that one entirely. But what we're going to do is we have a cache path. Yeah, that's fair. It's a char star B pointer. I assume I can't just do this. Yeah. Yeah. It's very true, Titan. Ceph string. Let's turn this guy into a Ceph string. Verify that this works. Hey Tails, good to see you. How have exams been? Can I just... Does that work? No, it does not. Fair enough. I hope you do well. I'm good. I am enjoying the daily grind, partially. Still enjoying Overwatch. I still need to play today to do my dailies, but I've completed this season's Battle Pass as of yesterday. So I'm now at level 80. This is not a work task. This is a fun side activity. So this is for OBS Studio, where currently we are attempting to add support for future versions of Chromium. And this one currently doesn't behave the way it's supposed to. It doesn't stay logged in when it should. How has he completed the titles already? That's crazy. No, I am unfortunately not heading to any fun events. What's UTS Tech Fest? That sounds fun. Oh. It's for students. I have not been a student for many years. Canvas. That's fun. No idea what that means. I am too old for that. I am going to the Melbourne Mash this weekend, which is an Overwatch tournament at Fortress Melbourne. And then next month, I'm going to Critical Role in Melbourne. And I think that's the only thing. Oh, and Comic-Con? I mean, no, I won't be streaming for Melbourne Mash. I will be in the audience. But it'll be good to see a bunch of Overwatch people. And it goes from, I think, 5 p.m. until late. However long the matches go. Enjoy your movie. And we'll chat soon, yeah? I don't know how to use Ceph string. I just assumed I could combine two Ceph strings. What if I just do a .c string and I just standard string on a path stir. I haven't completed the titles all the way maxed out since like season 5. I can never get myself all the way to level 200. I think I've succeeded once. Alright, so if I do conf path stir. Okay, that doesn't make it angry. Cool. So we're going to do a subdirectory that is test1. And then we're going to rename our other cache path. From OBS profile cookies to test2. And we'll see if that even does a thing. Because I want to see what the differences are. We'll throw it into something like WinMerge. It built. That's a good sign. So we're going to... First, before we even look at test 2, we're going to go into OBS browser, and we're going to look into test 1. Test 1 is entirely empty. This is interesting. It is not what I expected. What if we... No, test 1 is empty. Alright, so that's test 1. Now let's do test 2, which is logging into Twitch. Stream, connect. I'm going to have to clean out so many Twitch emails after this. Oh, man. So test 1 is still empty, because that's not even used anymore. Instead, it goes into a folder called default. So this has cache, this has local storage, all of those. But what I want to know is now there's a test 2, and we have our custom directory. It's also empty. Damn. So we have a slightly better understanding of something that's going wrong. But is that because it's a subdirectory of a subdirectory, or is it because of something else? So now that we know this directory didn't work, we can disable our line for test 2, relaunch a second time, sign out and sign back in, and we'll see if... Yeah. That's a good idea, actually. That's a very good idea. It's just, I don't do this often. Okay, so there should now be this directory. Yep, so it doesn't like being a subdirectory of a subdirectory. Theoretically. I don't like this song. But I have one other thought here. The first is, why doesn't the cookie frickin' save? But that's... Actually, if I... With the current configuration... Hang on, where's... Because I wonder if it needs to be a subdirectory, because this one here is test 2, and that's completely empty. That's fine. But test 1 is still empty. I clicked settings and nothing happens. There we go. I also like how it retained the cookie for the dark mode, even when I logged out. Alright, so we're now logged into Twitch here. And actually, what if we log into... I need something simple to log into, not YouTube or Google. What if we log... I need a simple thing to log into. Something I don't care about. Or just something with a cookie. Nah. It's a good suggestion, but... Let's do Burning Sea. Because I want to make sure cookies work there. Oh, that. I'll just generate a new password. Password change. Suggest strong password. Cool. Now we have a temporary password we can use for our testing. And we're going to go to Burning Sea. And then we're going to log in. Ask it to remember us. Now we're logged in on 2 sites. Then we're just going to restart and see what happens. Theoretically, both should stay logged in. Haha! It does work. So the next test is directory nesting. Because I wonder if the only reason Twitch doesn't stay logged in is because the root cache path and the cache path are the same. And then the other cache path is a subdirectory of a subdirectory. But before I do that, I need a quick bathroom break.
Slowly towards you. I wanna that I see you. The blinds are shut, but I'm trying to let you through. I know the light that's inside you will light up my world, but what if this still falls through? I let you in, our world begins. I open up, I break your heart. What if you do it first? I'll be heartbroken. If heaven's kind and you were mine, I like the rest. We fall forever, but we'll never know until we know. We got this feeling in our hearts, we're healing from a little love, from a little love. This could be heaven if I just let you in for a little love.
Of course, at the moment I got up, my cat was like, "Hi, I want attention." So, there you go. You can see she's eating right there. Alright. So I've successfully logged in and maintained our login, but I have a feeling that the reason it's misbehaving, because if we go into our OBS browser directory here, test 1 is still empty, which doesn't make a lot of sense. Because that is our cache path. Now there's definitely a cache, but it's using the root cache path because this is the main instance, right? So in that case, what I should do is sign out of, or at least disconnect Twitch. So stream disconnect. The good news is we're actually making progress now. We're going to go back in here. So the first thing I'm going to do in here is I'm going to push the code that does that, which is just adding that line. Yep. Then we're going to go in and delete our plugin config. And then we're going to change this one to be test 2. Well, we can just make it OBS profile cookies because that's what we were using before. Or actually, no, we should do test 1/test 2 because I wonder if that will work. Okay, so we're not logged in either of these, which is fine. But what I want to do is I want to go into OBS browser. We have test 1. Test 1 is empty for some reason. But the one we care about is test 2. So test 2 is this guy. So I'm going to log in once again. So now that we're logged in, we have a test2 directory, and in that, this guy. And in that, it's empty. So it just straight up doesn't like subdirectories. That's bad. That's really bad. That's not good. Not good at all. Because this is still a subdirectory of OBS browser, so it should work, but it doesn't. So if I close OBS, this directory is still empty. This one doesn't have anything else. This one's still empty. Oh, God. So we're going to have to migrate everyone to the top level. Yeah, that's not locked in. So it straight up just doesn't like 2 layers of folders. Because if we do this to test2, I'm not happy. Not sure you can tell. It just doesn't like nesting. Which doesn't make any sense. Because the documentation clearly states equal to or a child directory. Which I guess just means top level. Unless... Here's my question. What does the root cache path documentation actually state? The root directory for installation-specific data and the parent directory for profile-specific data. All cache path and cache path values must have this parent directory in common. This value is empty and cache path is non-empty, that it will default to the cache path value. Any non-empty value must be an absolute path. If both values are empty, then a default platform-specific one is used. Use of the default directory is not recommended in production applications, yes. Multiple application instances writing to the same root cache path directory could result in data corruption. A process singleton lock, yes, we know this. Singleton behavior applies to all Ceph-based application, version 120 and newer. You should customize root cache path for your application and implement on already running app relaunch, which will then be called on any app relaunch with the same root cache path value. Failure to set the root cache path may result in startup crashes or other unexpected behaviors, such as the sandbox blocking read or write access to certain files. Let's check. If other people have run into the same issue we have. This one's expected. No one else has documented this. Question is, do I report it to Ceph and they'll go, it's not our code that does this? Or do I report it to Chromium and they'll go, this is intentional? There. We can actually test this. All right, let's... I'm glad you understand, Titan. So, it uses isParent on base file path. Why does it need me to log in? All right. If isParent holds, returns true if this file path is a parent or ancestor of the child. So it should work. Verify the cache path is valid and create it if necessary. The path does get created, but is that from our own? Because we call a function here where we create the path. The root cache path isn't empty. And the root cache path isn't equal to the cache path. And the root cache path is not a parent. Then the cache path directory is not a child of the root cache. Yep. If directory exists... Okay. So what we're going to do is... I'm honestly thinking I'm going to disable these 3 lines. Then I'm going to go in here, and we're going to set this to warning. Well, the thing is, it doesn't need to because we already do that ourselves. But that is actually a good question. No, actually just base. I actually don't know their file structure. Ah, it's in file util win. That would make sense. Let's see, is it recursive? Yeah, attempt to create the parent recursively. At least if you call create directory and get error, which I don't know if that gets called automatically if you call base create directory. But let's see what happens with more verbose logging and with nested and without our own... And without our own folder creation. Because I'm curious what the Ceph logs will say. Because I think what's happening is we're successfully creating the directory, and then Ceph is going, no, that's not a valid... Kind of need to read the path. Yeah. I think what's happening is ours is creating the directory, then Ceph is going, that's not a child directory. So the folders get created, but nothing gets put inside. Which is weird because that happens with the other directory, the cache path, which I think uses our own cookie code as well. So actually, that would make sense if they're sharing the same behavior. All right, let's open our debug log in here. Well, that's a lie. Oh no, actually that might be... Oh, neat! Ceph is blocking that for us now. I'm not seeing any errors here yet. Cool. So it didn't complain. So now there it is. Cannot create profile at path, plugin config, OBS browser, OBS profile cookies. And that is specifically in libsef browser, Chrome browser context, line 117. All right, so here's where we've ended up. Initialize async. If cache path is not empty, then we check the profile manager. Check the user. If the cache path is the user data directory, use the default disk-based profile. If cache path directory name is equal to user data directory, so if the parent is the user directory, otherwise, all profile directories must be relative to user data directory. So in this case, user data directory is default, I think. Hang on, do we have... Profile manager, user data directory. Get initial profile directory. No, user... Get primary user profile. All right, let's do my next test and see if I'm right here. Where it is going based on no, that's not helpful. What I want to do here is see if this fixes it. Because that is the profile directory, default. Yeah. The thing is, this doesn't make sense. The way it's supposed to work is you set the root cache path, and then any profiles are put inside there, such as default. Which does work. If we look in there, then there's a directory called default on the screen. And you can see this has cache, this has network, it's got local storage. Now, the problem is, the way this is supposed to work is when you create a cookie context in a subdirectory, it's supposed to be based on the root directory, and it's supposed to work multiple levels. So why is this not working the way it's documented? No. Oh, okay. So let's try logging into Twitch again. Because this sounds like because it's a different browser profile. The entire purpose, so you have 3 levels of this. So the root cache path stores... What are we looking at here? We're looking at whether it's the first run, I don't really know what it's trying to store here. Core app stuff, let's say. Then either within that or within that, or same as, that has additional stuff. And then within that is a profile directory. Now, in Ceph, before the Chrome runtime, this directory didn't exist. Everything in the profile was just dumped in the cache path. So in previous versions of Ceph, we set cache path, the profile got dumped in the cache path, and because root cache path wasn't set, the root cache path was automatically set to cache path. So these were all the same directory. Now, that's for just using, say, browser docs and browser sources. On top of that, we also had OBS, what is it? Service integration cache path, which was a subdirectory of this guy. So this one was within cache path, and then it was the name of the service with nesting. Now, I don't know exactly why we have OBS browser cookies, and then inside that there's a directory for each session. I believe that's if you create a new profile using the profile menu, you can log into multiple accounts, and those cookies would be individual to that account, to that profile. So you could switch between them and be logged in. Now, profile has moved into its own directory, when we set this, that doesn't create its own directory, I don't think. But what I want to see is in default, do we now have... Yeah. Yeah. That's empty. So it successfully created the directory, but didn't populate it. Yeah, cannot create profile. So it successfully creates the folder, but doesn't create the profile. I think that's a Ceph bug. And the separate aspect of that is if you log into service integration, such as Twitch, we don't want those cookies to be accessible from other docs, like custom browser docs or browser sources, because we don't want leakage of your stuff. So, I think we found a bug in Ceph. Kosi, thanks for the follow. Welcome to the order. Hey, my follower goal of 420 was just completed. Thank you for being number 420. I assume not. But even if it did, that wouldn't have caused issues before because we create the directory first. This is without our code that would create the directory. But what we can do is we can restart OBS. And we can see if it yells at us a second time. Because now that the directory exists, will it populate it? We need default. Then we need obvious profile cookies. Oh. But at least we know exactly which line is causing us problems. It is this one. Because this one gets the profile manager. Seeing as this isn't a system directory, it's just C/OBS. And seeing as it creates the folder without problem, I'm going to guess that's not it. But honestly, you never know. Anyway, Kosi, hope you're doing well. Welcome. Feet. Just repeatedly logging into Twitch here every single time I restart OBS. Yeah. The thing is, if it's successfully creating the directory, just not populating it. And the thing is, the error checking seems to be very janky to me. So if we look at that function again, if I can find it, I almost need to like add comments to this. But it goes, if the cache path isn't empty, which it's not, we successfully reach this branch. So then it goes, if the cache path is equal to the user data directory, which in this case, the user data directory is based on the profile manager. So, you know what? Let's throw this into MS Paint and add our own annotations. So in the context that we're working in, this one is... No. This one is just... We don't need it that big. Come on. So user data directory is OBS browser. Cache path and user data directory don't match. Because cache path underscore is OBS browser / OBS browser cookies / cookie name. Right? So they don't match. And then on top of that, I assume whereas user data directory is OBS browser and the parent directory is OBS browser cookies. Specifically, the assumption I'm making is what dirname does. I will check in a second, but this is what I think is happening right now. And so because both of these fail, because cache path and user data directory don't match, and the parent directory name isn't the user data directory, because actually dirname is probably the full path to the parent directory, then this lies because it says must be relative to, but it's not relative to. It's not checking if it's relative. It's checking if it's a direct child, not a descendant. Right? Am I reading this code correctly? Because that's what I think is happening. Because it is hitting this code path, cannot create profile at path. Because it's giving us that specific error, which says Chrome browser context, line 117, which that is the correct file, that is the correct line number. And then it says cannot create profile at path, which is what this message says, cannot create profile at path. And that's the only line in that file that has the word cannot. So, the good news is it's a Ceph bug. The bad news is that either we change our directory structure or we hope that they fix it on the Chromium side, and if we end up updating, we might have to patch Ceph ourselves to not be as strict here. Because it's purely this check that's wrong. Because I'm going to check now what dirname does. So cache path underscore. Because I want to make sure I'm not... Oh, good lord. I assume this is in the header file. Because it's not... Oh. It's not in here. We were in Chrome browser context. Chrome browser context.h. Alright, well, let's do a search then. cache path is a base file path. So the function we're looking for is dir name. Returns a file path corresponding to the directory containing the path named by the object, stripping away the file component. If this object only contains one component, return a file path identifying k-current directory. Yep. This object already refers to the root directory, returns a file path identifying the root directory. Please note that this doesn't resolve directory navigation, such as ... Yeah. So, this is frustrating. We can fix the bug by removing the nesting, or we report the bug to Chromium, which I'm going to have to do. Okay. I'm just going to quickly choose a different album. That's our blame. Well, actually, our blame is this line. Albums. All right. Support client created request contexts. So it's not intentional. Realistically, what this should be doing because it's calling dir name. What we actually want is some sort of is ancestor. What we should be using is parent, which is what the other function uses. So do I go one step further and just submit a pull request? Because this code, in browser context, goes, for validating the cache path, goes, if the root cache path isn't empty, and the root cache path and cache path, God, that's a tongue twister, don't match, and it's not a parent, then it complains that it's not a child. But this succeeds. Because this is the correct check. I'm running the blame for you. Normalize path values and add additional error logging. 2020. Now, Marshall does all of the Ceph stuff, so it's the same developer that's written the same thing in both. That's really frustrating. So I will have to create a Ceph PR that updates Chrome browser context to match context. That is assuming, because I think context here is for the Ceph context. And I wonder if this one is... So this one's probably from the old runtime. About a year. Titan, I think. Let me put them side by side, just for you. Yeah. So this one's April 2021. This one's April 2020. So literally a year apart. April 8th, 2021. April 24th, 2020. Yeah. The older one's correct. But it's worth noting that I have a feeling this was written for the Alloy runtime, context.cc, and Chrome browser context is written for... Because you can see this one has a copyright of 2012 and this one has a copyright of 2020. So I have a feeling this left file is for the Chrome runtime. And it's possible that Chrome itself doesn't support nesting. And if that's the case, then the documentation needs to be updated and the error message needs to be updated, because the error message just says can't create profile. Whereas this one is kind enough to say is not a child. Because this one checks for child. This one just goes... sorry, this one checks for parent. This one doesn't. This checks directly the parent name. It's really funny. Okay. Well then, let's sign out of here. Again. Because what we do know is that cookies do persist in the base system. And the other system simply just doesn't like nesting. Because I thought maybe it was a nesting issue of being in the profile directory rather than just the app directory. So up here. I thought maybe this guy would need to be in here, but that didn't solve the problem. It's straight up the check is wrong or the error message needs to be better. Additionally, we could technically remove this check in our own code of creating the cookie directory, because that did cause a little bit of grief. But realistically, it's fine. Fatal warning. Yep. Yeah, that's why I tried putting default in here, which didn't help. So the actual fix here, what we could do is just... where did VS Code go? So we could change this slash to a underscore and experiment. Because that way the directory will still be unique per profile, which it has to be. I'm just going to make sure it launches with that, and then I'm going to make the same change to the duplicate current cookie profile function. And we're going to... this is fork. So git-fork.com, I think. Yep, this guy. It's not free, but for what it does and how powerful it is... Yeah, there you go. It's $60. One user up to 3 machines. I use it at home and at work across multiple machines. I love it. It does occasionally have bugs because realistically, the Git command line is not intended to be used the way a Git client does. And the developers are definitely macOS focused, but it's such a nice app. Actually, do I have it logged in on my Mac? Let's check. If you don't pay for it, it just notifies you, hey, you haven't paid for this like once a week. It's not even annoying. Like I waited to buy it for a long time because I was like, I don't really need to, but I use it so heavily that eventually I was just like, let's support the devs, you know? Sure, let's reopen my Mac session. Wait, why is this guy sitting on Chrome runtime changes? Weird. So let's check. Fork activation. Yeah, I don't even have it activated on the Mac because I don't use it much. Yeah. There's so much I do with Git that having a proper client for it is a godsend. You can actually see, if I pull... Where's Fork? Yeah. You can see just how many branches I have that are locally pinned, then non-pinned branches, then all the remotes that I've added and filtered out, hidden. Yeah. This client makes so many of those things really easy. I actually recently started using work trees. They're really nice. But this also has stuff like I can actually go in here and go repository statistics, and it'll generate stats based on who pushed when and how often. And you get a full graph that covers the entire lifetime of the repository by default. So this is from 2013 to 2025. And you can see the first few years were primarily one developer, and then you started getting multiple people helping a lot more. But yeah, I use a bunch of stuff. And like, if you really want, you can actually just pull this up and it even tells you what it did so that you can see the function it ran and how it came up with the response. So if you get like an error, you just pull that up. I even have this set up here so that I can directly open whatever repository I have open in VS Code. So for example, if I go into this OMote directory, I can go in here and click open in VS Code. And voila. And I can start doing stuff there if I want. And it also opens an, what is it, MS... What are they called? Mingwin. So you can even do stuff here if you want. And then it also has workspaces so that if you, like right now I have a bunch of stuff open, but if you wanted one that was specific to whatever. Oh, and it also handles, down here, tags, stashes, and submodules. So you can even see submodules here, and it'll actually open it as its own tab so that you can manage that submodule. And if you reset the submodule in here, which you can do from here, you can just discard the submodule changes. It'll change this one to head. This client made it so much easier for me to understand concepts like rebasing and all of that, and squashing, because like you can literally go, okay, so say I'm in Chrome runtime changes and I go interactive rebase to here, right? It won't let me because I have stuff that's not stashed yet. But let's say we're in Royal Commands, actually. Yeah, let's pull latest master here. And you can choose which branch and which remote you're pulling from and all of that. And like if you force push, it even lets you like check a separate box to do so. But if I go here and I go interactively rebase, then it gives you this rebase dialog, which lets you go, oh yeah, I want to reword this one. And it'll even give you a little thing here where you can just rename the commit. Or you want to drop a certain commit and you want to go back and, or you want to mark this one as fix up, so it'll squash these two commits for you, or it'll drop that one for you. You can squash, or you can go, I want to edit this one, right? So then when you click the rebase button, it'll perform these other actions for you. Then it'll stop wherever you clicked edit, and you can do those changes. And that's all normal Git stuff, but this makes it really easy to do. So yeah. All right. So that all works. And we understand why it's not working the way it's supposed to. Let's go in and mark these ones as underscores temporarily. And let's add a... this one says to do. Do I have a known issues section? Hello, I'd like to grab this and resize it, please. Can I? Don't know if I can. All right. We've got various Chrome settings, various Chrome's default, also blocks. Okay. Known issues. Cache path currently must be a direct child, even though it's written and previously would. Did nesting. Issue or PR will be submitted to Ceph to find out whether it's a Chromium limitation or an incorrect check in Ceph. All right. For now, OBS profile cookies will be the directory prefix rather than the parent. Even though that's in the parent repo. Must be. There we go. Amend. So now we can log into Twitch. Actually, no. What I should do is delete the directory. Start from scratch. Make sure we have no messy business. That other program is Notepad. Just tell me it's Notepad. Okay. You can set... So, I had some goofiness I will mention with the vertical sidebar, because I am on a tablet, and what happened is it enabled the like touch optimize taskbar, which like auto hides and it becomes a little thingy. The vertical taskbar does not support that and completely bugs out. So I had to disable that. But once I disabled that, it was fine. The other thing is you can set it to not use the vertical taskbar on secondary screens, but in what way does it not work? Because based on what I read, it's supposed to work. That's... What am I even looking at here? Is it overflowing between screens? Because that's the start button. And a portion of the clock? Because the start button is supposed to be at the top of the taskbar, and the clock is supposed to be at the bottom. So why is it upside... Unless you configured it that way, but why is it upside down? And why is it tiny? If you go into Windhawk and just turn it off and back on, does it fix itself? And if that doesn't fix it, which it should, try restarting Explorer. That's really weird. Yeah. That's really strange. Otherwise, you could report it to that developer. I mean, restarting Explorer is just a, you know, task manager and restart the process, but yeah. Okay. Did I delete the browser directory? I don't even remember. I guess so, because that directory was created 10:01. Cool. All right. So we are currently in the profile called Fresh Cookie. We are going to... You know what, actually? Yeah, it's not supposed to. We can move out of debug because we no longer need that. So I'll be in a new profile plugin config directory. Fair. Once you're burned, you're probably not going to try again. You know? No point in giving yourself grief if you already know it malfunctioned in the past. It's the same reason people don't update OBS. Because they have one bad experience updating OBS and then decide, okay, then I'm never updating again. Which you shouldn't do. You should update when you can. Just give yourself time to actually troubleshoot any potential issues. Don't update directly before a stream. True. But also you're missing out on the cool stuff. And also, there's usually a lot more bug fixes. We're actually preparing the release notes for the next version. I'm not going to show them because... But... I think I closed the tab. But like, the changelog contains like 40 bug fixes. Yeah. That's true. And understandably, because we don't have a good ABI for that specifically. Okay, let's do a new profile called Chrome Runtime Cookie. Yes, that's true. So we're in a new profile called Chrome Runtime Cookie. We're going to go into Connect Account. I'm going to log in. OBS 28 burned us in a couple ways. One, because we don't have a proper ABI, and two, because we don't have a system for plugins to auto-update. Yeah. I mean, generally, OBS is built not to, so that people don't lose their settings when they update. It's pretty aggressive about not doing so, but it doesn't... The one downside is it doesn't have any kind of check to go, hey, if the currently loaded stuff is smaller than the backup, terminate early and notify the user. Instead, it just goes, huh. Well, I can't load this, and I can't load the backup, so I'll just load a fresh new thing and set the backup to the current thing, which is the purged thing. And it's like, my recommendation is back up the entire config directory, or at the very least, export your profiles and scene collections. Okay, we're logged into Twitch in Chrome Runtime Cookies, so... verify that it remembers. Connecting to chat is taking a while. Excuse me, it did not work. I didn't clear the changes there, did I? That's an underscore. That's just the cookie ID, so that's correct. Alright, file, show settings folder. Yep. Always backup. Let's try this again. Plugin config, OBS browser. OBS profile cookies. Why are you in a subdirectory? Well, no wonder you're not saving. You're not doing it right. Why is it using old code? I switched from debug, but it should rebuild with the updated code. I've just modified the file again just to trigger Visual Studio to recognize the file has changed, and that should fix it. It's giving me a heart attack by not doing what the code says it's doing. Cool, there's no OBS browser cookies. I have successfully logged in 13 times today. 14 times today. Nope, it's straight up not doing what it's supposed to. I might end it there if it's gonna be like this. Trying to figure out where the hell it's getting this idea from. I'm gonna restart Visual Studio. Now, I think I had OBS basic browser in here, so let's just maintain this and make sure that this is set to underscore, then hit F5. And let's see if that fixes it. While it does that, actually, I'm going to go into my Mac and I'm going to shut down the Windows ARM VM that I have here. I don't need it eating my power. Login number 15, here we go. If this doesn't work, my brain is fried and I'm ready to take a break. Yeah. I've done something wrong somewhere. Because I bet if I check... Yeah, that's wrong. Like, unless it's using some kind of cached variable somewhere, it's not even worth the brain power. Alright, I'm going to end stream there because I'm going to play some Overwatch before I head to bed, complete my dailies, and tomorrow I will have to create a bug report. And we'll see if Marshall says, oh, this isn't a bug in Ceph because Chrome Runtime doesn't support this anymore. Then we'll have to say, then update the documentation. Don't say you support nesting when you don't support nesting. Thanks for joining me today. 3.5 hour stream, not bad. I did lose 1.1% of frames due to rendering and another 1.2% for encoding on the HEVC side to YouTube. But I don't think I dropped anything to Twitch, which was X264. So I'll have to review the logs for today. But other than that, I will be streaming as usual on Tuesday with Open Tuesday. And I hope you all enjoy the rest of your weekend. Bye!